Hey basketball guys, we have news. Let's go to more news from the Golden State Warriors, but before that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. For the Warriors to regain their dynasty, there is nothing better than an impactful signing. But for that to happen, the Warriors will need to make young players available to be traded for a big star. Warriors executives often surprise and make bombastic deals. Sweeping trade tip: Warriors sign NBA champion star in blockbuster deal. While the Golden State Warriors are not on the reported preferred list of teams for Giannis Antetokounmpo should he and the free-falling Milwaukee Bucks decide to part ways, it does not preclude them from trading for the former NBA MVP. CBS Sports national columnist Bill Ryder reported on October 31 that two Eastern Conference teams are on Antetokounmpo's radar. Teams are circling, and hopeful, one Western Conference team executive said. "I wouldn't be surprised if it happened by the trade deadline," said a top executive of a team that could be in the mix. An Eastern Conference NBA executive has already heard the places believed to be Giannis would-be preferred destinations. "The teams I've heard are Miami and New York, the Nets, not the Knicks." In February, The Athletic reported trading for Antetokounmpo is the Warriors' dream scenario, as they have long understood that a star wing next to Stephen Curry is their cleanest path back to title contention before Curry's late prime fades. If and when the Bucks decide to trade Antetokounmpo and kickstart a rebuild, it behooves them to get as many offers as possible to maximize the return on their investment in the Greek Freak. Here is the most realistic trade package the Warriors could offer to the Bucks for Antetokounmpo that is legally possible under the collective bargaining agreement. Golden State Warriors receive Giannis Antetokounmpo. Milwaukee Bucks receive Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, DeAnthony Melton, Lindy Waters III, 2026, 2027 unprotected first-round picks and 2030, pick 1 to 19. It should be noted Melton can only be traded beginning December 15. Warriors limited by Jordan Poole trade. The Warriors could only offer a maximum of 3 first-round picks since they owe the Washington Wizards a 2030 top 20 protected first-round pick in the Chris Paul Jordan Poole trade. So the Warriors cannot offer their 2025, 2027, 2029, and 2031 since they are not allowed to trade first-rounders in back-to-back drafts, 2030 and 2031, under the Ted Stepien rule. What they could do is trade the other half of their 2030 pick, from 1 to 19, meaning the Bucks would get the Warriors' pick if it falls below the 20th pick. Otherwise, it will convey to the Wizards. Mike Dunleavy Jr. and the Warriors front office will need to get creative if they want to bid for Antetokounmpo against teams with rich draft capital. How the Warriors stack up against Heat and Nets' potential package. The Warriors have the advantage over the Heat in terms of draft capital. As it stands, the Heat only have one first-round pick available, 2030 or 2031, after they traded away a protected 2027 first-round pick to Charlotte to acquire Terry Rozier. The Heat have young prospects, but the Warriors have Kuminga, a promising forward who is driven to become a star and craving for the opportunity. But the Warriors' most realistic offer pales in comparison to the Nets, who have 13 first-round picks in the next 7 drafts, most of them from their haul in the James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant and Mikal Bridges trades. The Nets have Cam Thomas, a prolific scorer who could also become a star, but has question marks as a leader. Could have been Trash Green's disrespectful take on former Warriors trade target. Draymond Green continues to back the Golden State Warriors at every turn, even when it doesn't necessarily make all that much sense. It's an admirable quality for the veteran forward who continues to praise general manager Mike Dunleavy Jr. for the way he's built this current Warrior roster. While there are a number of reasons for such praise, sometimes Green takes it a little too far. Draymond Green's comments on the Warriors' pursuit of Lauri Markkanen were bewildering. The 34-year-old was again asked about his team's offseason in a recent interview with Om Youngmisuk of ESPN. Within it, Green claimed that adding Lauri Markkanen could have been trash after heavy speculation of a potential trade for the Utah Jazz forward in July and early August. that could have been trash, by the way. Markkanen coming here, we don't know, Green said. We have never seen it. So there was no thought of what could have been because we don't know what that looked like. The Warriors hadn't seen DeAnthony Melton, Kyle Anderson and Buddy Hield in their system either, yet felt comfortable in adding them during the offseason. Of course, that trio simply required offering contracts rather than giving up assets, but the point remains that every potential addition is just a projection of what they could be. We can argue forever on what and or who Golden State should have been willing to give up for Markkanen, and frankly the result of that won't be known for quite some years. But to suggest that adding Markkanen could have been trash is bewildering and quite honestly disrespectful to who he is as a player. Markkanen has averaged at least 23.2 points in each of the past 2 seasons, having shot over 39% from three-point range, while also adding over rebounds per game. He was also previously making just $18 million this season before renegotiating his contract, meaning the Warriors wouldn't have totally lost their depth. Combine Markkanen's individual quality, contract and specific fit with Golden State as a 7-foot sharpshooter, and it's almost impossible to see how it could have been trash unless it was injury-related. At a stretch you could say that the cost of young players and future picks may have made the Warriors trash in a few years post-Green and Stephen Curry, but even then Markkanen is only 27 and should have plenty of years left in his prime. Off-season misread will become trade deadline headache for Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors may have a problem on their hands. After a huge off-season misread, the Golden State Warriors will have a big decision to make leading up to the NBA trade deadline. Getting off to a 4-1 start, playing 2 of those games without Steph Curry, it would be foolish to suggest that the Golden State Warriors haven't gotten off to a good start to the season. While the off-season move for Buddy Hield should be praised with how he's played to start the year, there's one summer decision that could end up giving the Warriors some real headaches over the next couple of months. The one off-season decision to not extend Jonathan Kuminga before the NBA's rookie-scale extension deadline will likely put the team in an awkward position leading up to the NBA trade deadline. Kuminga has admittedly gotten off to a rough start to the season, seeing a dip in production and efficiency across the board. One of a few things could be at play here for Kuminga. 1. He could just not be a schematic fit for the Warriors. 2. The weight of trying to live up to a certain standard in an attempt to secure a huge off-season payday next summer has altered his play. Or, 3. He's just off to a cold start to the year that will correct itself over time. No matter what is at play here for Kuminga, none of it benefits the Warriors. And if the recent rumblings are true, Golden State will need to make a big decision on Kuminga's future soon. According to recent reports, the Warriors and Kuminga were not close in extension talks before the deadline. A few games into the season, Kuminga was relegated from his starting role. Now, there are rumblings that the Warriors are more willing than ever to trade Kuminga. How will the Jonathan Kuminga situation impact the season? No matter whether the Warriors end up trading Kuminga before the trade deadline or not, it's pretty clear that their future together is far from a certainty. And there are things that both the Warriors and Kuminga need to figure out before that is decided. I'd imagine the Warriors will want to see how the next few weeks of the season play out before they make any rash moves. However, there's no question that their entire season outlook has been complicated by Kuminga's situation. The Warriors have a real headache on their hands with Kuminga. If the Warriors know that they won't be able to afford him in free agency next summer, a trade at some point this season would make sense. But even that possibility is on thin ice, considering his slow start to the season. There aren't likely going to be many teams jumping at the opportunity to trade for a player who is about to hit restricted free agency and for one whose value is complicated. Not to mention that the Warriors trading Kuminga would certainly hurt their overall team depth. Golden State may find themselves in a no-win situation with Kuminga at the moment. Circumstances can certainly change, but it would be foolish to expect that at this point.